Good morning, world. I'm Aaron.
Oh, I'm Alex.
Sorry, we messed with the script a little bit, and welcome back to Two in the Booth, podcast of lively baseball banter going into your ears from our mouths. And we got a lot to talk about today. We're coming to you the week post Easter, and so all sorts of wonderful things. Baseball is in swing. And if you're the Canadian baseball team, you're losing players left, right, and center. And for the rest of baseball, smooth sailing, unless two players who are taking particular umbrage to being thrown at. More on that in a little while. Thought we'd lead off with a strong positive note, and that would be the contributions of rookies so far this season. I'm thinking particularly of just the future of the shortstop position. So let's rewind a few years back to when you and I were in our middle school years. We were in the golden age of shortstops at that time. We had the big three: Nomar Garcia-Parra, Derek Jeter, Alex Rodriguez. You had Omar Vizquel. You had Jimmy Rollins. You had some other guys in that conversation for shortstops, but that was the golden age of shortstops. They were tall, they were dark and handsome, and they hit dingers.
Tall, long, and strong.
That's right. And I feel like we are circling back around to the golden age of shortstops right now. We've got two particularly strong rookie shortstops who came in as shortstops at least, and in one situation is playing another position currently, but may revert back to shortstop in the future. And those two shortstop rookies are Kevin McGonigal and Connor Griffin. Alex, what have you seen from Kevin McGonigal that excites you as a Detroit Tigers fan?
Well, he's obviously played since opening day, so he's got a full couple weeks under his belt here. He even last night playing in 30-degree weather, he just has really good, you know. And this is really embarrassing to say out loud because so few Tigers actually have this skill. But they call it bat to ball skills, which is a really weird thing to say, right? Because you're a Major League Baseball player, which means you should be able to put the bat on the ball. But Kevin McGonigal can do that. He can put the bat on the ball and he can put the ball in play, and he can do that regularly, which obviously gives you a greater chance of getting a hit if you can put the ball in play.
Yeah.
And he's shown extra base power. He's got a double, he's kind of like a double machine so far. And yeah, he just as a 21-year-old kid, he's shown himself elusive to the overactive penmanship of AJ Hinch. So he can find a way to play all 9 innings, and AJ Hinch won't pull him out of the game, which shows that he's got respect of management and just team leadership.
He must be a right-handed batter as well.
No, he's a left-handed batter, which is all the more shocking because the first smell of trouble, AJ Hinch dumps all his lefties almost immediately. And it gets him into trouble sometimes when he does that, but that's another side issue. But overall, it's just kind of cool to see a kid who's 21, who's actually hey, stepping right into it, skipped AAA, went from AA to the big leagues, and is being productive. And he's being productive at the top of the lineup, which doesn't say much right now. The Tigers aren't very productive overall as a team, but it's nonetheless, it's a really bright spot. And there's no reason to think that he won't be a staple. The one thing about and again, I think this is different than the golden age in which we lived, where guys came up, and A-Rod was a little different. He came up as a shortstop, ended up playing a lot of third base, switching positions. But where Derek Jeter played his whole career at shortstop, so did Omar Vizquel, Jimmy Rollins, all these guys. Kevin McGonigal, we're not really sure where he plays. He's played third, he's played short. Where's his glove at? His bat is 100% there. We just don't know where his glove is.
Damn.
And he can't throw to first worse than Javi Baez, so he's got to probably be better, you would think. But it's just you don't really have just a clear spot for him. And the Tigers have several of those players because it's so far Colt Keith's off to a really good start. Don't know where Colt Keith plays in the field. Can't play first base real well. Can't play third base real well. Can't play second base real well. So you're like, what? Where do you play? If you don't play any of those positions, what do you do? And
Elite,
so
elite bat to ball skills, apparently.
elite bat to ball skills. And so, but yeah, very impressed so far with Kevin McGonigal and very hopeful that he'll be, a regular fixture in the lineup for years to come, assuming he
All
doesn't
that.
bite the dust. But
Yeah.
the bigger news was
Connor Griffin.
Connor Griffin.
So 21 is pretty young to be making a rookie debut, but let's go to 19. I mean,
Yeah, totally.
we saw Jackson Holliday break into the major leagues a couple years ago as an 18 or 19-year-old.
Wait, time out. Has he actually
Yeah.
broken into the league? I mean, I know he's in the league, but has he actually broken into the league? Because
And that's a topic of conversation, right? I mean, he came in as a second baseman, and major league pitching just ran roughshod over him, and he's had some injuries. He's still on the struggle bus. Okay, he's played major league time, maybe would be the clearer thing to say. But here you got 19-year-old Connor Griffin popping into the big leagues. He's been shredding any minor league level that the Pirates have sent him to. So he gets called up to the bigs a week into the season, and he's been a great stabilizing force for the Pirates. You have attributed O'Neal Cruz's success to you calling him out last week on the podcast or a couple weeks ago. I would attribute that to Connor Griffin being called up and the Pirates just being galvanized by this new young blood who's in their clubhouse. So much so, his impact has been that the breaking news this morning as we're recording the podcast is that he and the Pirates have signed a 9-year, $140 million extension, which basically solidifies him staying in Pittsburgh for the foreseeable future. And, you're looking at those two bright young infield stars, we'll say, because your point about Kevin McGonigal is valid. He's played all over the place so far. Maybe he's the future at shortstop for the Tigers, but at least for now, he's DHing, third basing, shortstop, whatever. But you look at the bright young stars at shortstop, and you have Connor Griffin, you have Kevin McGonigal potentially, you have Bobby Witt Jr., and you have Gunnar Henderson. And you're like, the golden age of shortstops might be back, where the guys who are must get autographs are your Shohei Ohtanis and your Aaron Judges, closely followed by a bunch of shortstops. As their stock continues to rise and they continue to get better and better, I think you'll see those four players make repeated all-star appearances and a lot of stability at shortstop in those all-star games. So anyway, that was just something that I thought was worth highlighting, how good those two rookie shortstop infielders have been, and what a cool place baseball is in terms of premier shortstops who are young in their careers. And if, they avoid the injury bug and calamity, you could see the next 10 years be dominated by those four superstars. Wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I just think we got to, I know, one, props to the Pirates for getting a guy paid an under contract for basically pennies on the dollar when you think about it. And because if Connor Griffin is half as good as they say he is, like, what a steal, right? So he's got, they've in essence, if they're going to get this deal done, they've bought themselves some flexibility. Like, he doesn't have to be a Hall of Famer and to still be getting a bargain for the services of Connor Griffin. And, I just think we got to and we've learned this before, and we've talked about it on the podcast before, where, we live in the day and age where the second a guy gets called up, they probably schedule it in Cooperstown or whatever. And the reality is probably one of these guys will be a Hall of Famer.
Eventually, yeah.
And it's and the rest of them might not do anything. And again, Omar Vizquel never made the Hall of Fame because he got involved with PEDs and stuff. You just don't ever know how things are going to play out. And Connor Griffin's point, he's only played 2 series. He's got 3 hits. He has more strikeouts than hits. He's only gotten hits in 2 ball games. And so you're just like, like we're just going to see because there's going to be growing pains, right? Because he's basically going from like a quick stint at single A, a quick stint at double A, right to the bigs. And when you're playing the Orioles pitching staff coming up, and you get you lead off with a double, and then basically he went 2, 5, 8, 12, 13 at bats without a hit. And then he got 2 hits yesterday. Okay, so he's finally like, it's like, is he going to adjust? How's he make adjustments? Which one of these guys, if any of them, are going to like get that? Like, it'll be interesting to see if any of them, whether it's Connor Griffin, Kevin McGonigal, whoever it might be, is it going to go down? Is he going to end up back down? Take the trip back down to AAA? Either any of them, we just don't know. Yeah, so we'll just see. I do want to, and he's an older rookie, and I think this has been just as cool of a story, and I think it's just case in point to the organization's strength as just, hey, building from within and kind of just getting, it's just sneaky production out of the
Yeah.
unlikely, superstars. He's older
Yeah.
for a rookie, but Chase DeLauder for the Cleveland Guardians has been phenomenal to start the year, and for a team that doesn't have anybody to bat historically, like any significant way around Jose Ramirez, Chase DeLauder, who came up last year in like the deciding game of the playoffs against the Tigers. He started with the ball club. He's got 5 home runs already, 9 RBIs. He's batting, 286. I mean, it's impressive. And so like, there's young guys in the league that are being productive, which has been really, really cool to see. And again, they're not all going to make the Hall of Fame, but they're making for some really cool storylines to start the season. And so
Absolutely.
I'd much rather talk about these than, I don't know, the picture that could be hung in the Louvre that's on our hot feed this morning of Jorge Soler squaring up with someone from the Braves.
Ronaldo Lopez trying to punch someone with a baseball in his hand.
There you go. That one. Yeah, that was the one.
I thought when you were talking about how proud you were of this organization and the older rookie, I thought you were going with TJ Rumfield from the Rockies. And I was like, bro, seriously? You're not going down this road, are you?
I
Because
am
he's
not
also a
going
notable
down.
rookie,
No.
27. He's had a good start to the year as well. And then you went Chase DeLauder. And I was like, oh, I got to bring up TJ Rumfield because like he's also been having a good spring. So anyway, those are some rookie impacts. And that's a great segue to early surprises and disappointments so far in the league. So I want to true false you some stars. And we're going to go over under for total home runs they've hit so far this year. Okay.
Boy.
Who has more home runs, Fernando Tatis Jr. or Ronald Acuna Jr.?
Yikes. I'll say Tatis.
Correct answer is neither of them because neither of them have yet to hit a home run so far this season.
That's fantastic.
Fernando Tatis Jr., Ronald Acuna Jr., no home runs. Who has more home runs, Josh Naylor or Bryce Harper?
Well, I know Bryce has one, so I'll say Bryce.
Yes, Bryce does have one. While he's batting a paltry like 100 something, Josh Naylor has yet to hit a home run.
Yeah,
dude's a masher.
I did notice that, and I did see that he's struggling to. Those bat to ball skills are struggling.
Let me just run down some other big name stars, franchise players who are homerless to this point in the season so far. Taylor Ward, who the Orioles acquired 2 hit home runs. Austin Riley, that was a surprise because the Braves need his bat to hit home runs. So far, as of today, he's not hit a home run. Randy Arozarena and Bo Bichette have not hit home runs yet so far this year. Julio Rodriguez has not hit a home run so far this year. Jazz Chisholm Jr. has not hit a home run so far this year. Like, dude, you're playing in basically a Little League park in Yankee Stadium with that right field porch. What's your problem, dude? So Jazz, and then the last 2, Adley Rutschman for the Orioles, who competed in the home run derby not so many years ago, and Riley Green, who also participated in the home run derby not too many years ago. All of those guys have yet to hit a home run. Now, we are very young into the season, but we've played at least a dozen games. At least most teams have played a dozen games so far. No home runs for any of those players I just listed.
Yeah.
They've all been disappointments for their team to this point in the season so far.
I'd like to revisit this like a week from now because it's like, I mean, for crying out loud, like my dad told me this for years, and you just start to believe it as an adult, and when you're watching this and stuff, and like games should not be played in Minnesota right now. Like
Okay.
it's just like it's 20 degrees. There's nobody in the stands. It's like a COVID game. Like you're playing, it's completely empty, and everybody's wearing snow pants, and everyone's all bundled up, and it's just like it's miserable. And I watched the game in Seattle is the same deal. Like it's 30 degrees, it's cold, it's nobody wants to play, and
They
again,
have a closed stadium.
it's partially closed.
Okay.
Partially closed, which means the cold air can still get in. And ultimately it's just like, okay, like I don't know, I feel like there's a handful of teams that need to open the season on one of those like 10-game road trips. Just
Need to
needs
have
happen.
like the Rays last year play at Steinbrenner Field for the first couple series just to let their home ballpark thaw a little bit.
Well, they played the whole season at Steinbrenner Field.
I understand.
But regardless, though, it's just like I don't know. I'm with you. There's definitely been production issues with more than a handful of players, but it's like, yeah, it's a brutal watch, and it's hard to not hit the panic button as a fan because you want to win every ball game and stuff, but you're just like,
Unless you're the Dodgers, that's not going to happen.
no. But again, and but I say that though, and New York's a cold city, and the Yankees are off to a good start. The Mets are in first place. The Dodgers have won the NL West. Is it too early to say the Dodgers have won the NL West? I mean, they're 4 games up on everybody,
Well,
and that
just
division's over.
continuing down the disappointments. The Red Sox have been a disappointment to me. They went out, spent a ton of money on starting pitching. You got Garrett Crochet and Ranger Suarez and like Roman Anthony, who was like, go ahead and give him Rookie of the Year and MVP this year because he was amazing in the WBC. And I mean, like his outfield prowess or lack thereof has been on display, and he hasn't really done much with his bat either to this point. Lump all that stuff together, Jarren Duran hasn't really been doing that hot. Wilyer Abreu has been struggling at the dish, producing runs. And the Red Sox are like 3-8 at this point in the bottom of the American League East. And you're like, man, that's kind of a disappointment. Like you expected the Blue Jays and the Yankees to come out of the gate strong, but you also expected the Red Sox, after the moves they made this offseason, to come out of the gate strong. And for the Rays and Orioles to be in front of them, I feel like that would be a disappointment for at this point in the season. The other team I'll mention is the Chicago Cubs. Again, they went out, made some moves. They've played a lot of day games so far this season. And, Crow Armstrong didn't have an extra base hit until just the other day. And there have been some other scuffles that the team has had. Shota Imanaga hasn't really been all of that. They've been dealing with some injuries, obviously, but they're below 500 to start the year so far. And you're thinking to yourself, man, like these two teams had higher aspirations to begin the season than being below 500 and buried in their specific division. Those have been a couple that stuck out to me. Any disappointments that stick out to you before we go positive?
Yeah, I'll throw out just a pitcher here. And again, like this is for him, it's just by his standards, he's been less than great. I mean, again, like his ERA is still in relatively good shape for if it's over the course of a whole season. But Tarek Skubal's already got 2 losses, and losses aren't everything, but he's shown he has struggled getting to 2. I mean, with 2 strikes, his put away stuff has not been there. And again, he's played in some cold weather situations to start the season or whatever. But it's just like, when he demands himself to be perfect every time out, he's been less than that so far this season. As far as teams go, it's just it's interesting to look through just kind of where the standings are right at this moment. Um, Seattle has been underwhelming as the team that came out last year of the American League into the World Series. They've been underwhelming,
Yeah.
although that division is still absolutely like everyone's within like a
Wide
game or so
open.
of each other. Yeah, that's been a thing. I don't know, like it's everything else is kind of you look at the standings and you're like, yeah, there's some pleasant surprises. Teams you expected to, win games are there with a few exceptions. But yeah, I mean, again, give it a couple more weeks, get a month under our belt here, and we'll see where we're at. But I think you highlighted some of the really notable things going on.
There's some fun surprises that we've seen so far. I think if you're a Reds fan, you've got to be pumped with how your team's looked out of the gate. They're in first place in the Central, and they've found ways to win ball games, not in drastic measure, but it doesn't really matter if you're beating people by 6, 7, or 8 runs. It just matters that you're beating people.
Right.
And they've been winning series. They've been playing good baseball. The Reds have been an early surprise for me. And then I got 3 players. We've been waiting for Jordan Walker to bloom and become a great baseball player. And for him to have half as many home runs in the first 12 games of this season as he had total over the last 2 seasons, he seems like he's finally discovered how to swing a bat at a major league level. And he seems like he might stick with the St. Louis Cardinals. And so I think that's got to be a pleasant surprise for Cardinals fans, because I think many of them may have written him off, like in the Nolan Gorman category of like, oh, he had a lot of potential, but his skill set just didn't play to major league level. He's shown himself to be off to a pleasant surprise, good start. The other person to mention, well, 2 other people to mention. One, if I asked you who on the Dodgers is leading the team in home runs, RBIs, and average, your first several guesses would probably be Shohei Ohtani, Kyle Tucker, Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, or Mookie Betts. But nay, none of those guys are currently leading the Dodgers in those 3 statistical categories. It is none other than Andy Pages who is leading the Dodgers in those 3 categories. And you're like, dude, here's this guy from Cuba, not making hundreds of millions of dollars, not having a huge deferred contract. And a lot of the reason why the Dodgers are 9-2 is because he's been carrying them.
Yeah.
He's the one who's been driving the runs in, not the top half of the lineup. Now they're starting to come around. That's scary if he continues his pace and the top half of the lineup finds their way. But Andy Paz has been a pleasant surprise. And then finally, and it pains me to say this so much, but Drake Baldwin of the Atlanta Braves has also been a pleasant surprise. I have him in one of my fantasy lineups, and it seems like every night when I pull up my lineup to see how my fantasy lineup is doing, Drake Baldwin either has driven in runs or he's hit a home run and driven himself in, but he's hitting at a high level and he's making up for some of the production that's lacking on the part of Ronald Acuna Jr. and Austin Riley to this point in the season. And I think if you're a Braves fan, Drake Baldwin's got to be a pleasant surprise. So you thought you were getting a stud in Sean Murphy. He's been on the injured list. He's not even on the roster right now. And Drake Baldwin's your guy with Jonah Heim backing him up. And you're like, man, it could be that Sean Murphy becomes expendable at some point. You signed him to this huge extension, but you got Drake Baldwin. You're not taking it bats away from Drake Baldwin at this point. Surprise,
Absolutely not.
surprise, surprise. So, you know, give props where props are due for some pleasant surprises so far thus in the season. Any any that have stuck out to you? Brent
So
Herter, maybe?
yeah, right, yeah. No, last night, even though he got chased in the ninth inning, which is crazy, Sandy Alcantara has just been like a fiend so far for the Marlins, which he kind of disappeared for 2 years there, injury related and just underwhelming after he won a Cy Young a couple years ago or a few years ago. He seems to be back. He like every time he takes the mound, he has a chance to do the Maddox or whatever. He already has one. He was on pace to have two in the ninth inning last night, and then it kind of. But he's 2-0 with an ERA under 1. And again, if they can get that, if and Alcantara has shown like if he can do that all year, like, oh my goodness, like that alone will keep the Marlins relevant for like wild card status if they can get
Yeah.
that kind of production out of an ace like Sandy. So he's there. Shout out for my fantasy team. If the American League Cy Young was handed out right now, the winner would be Jose Soriano from the Angels. He's on pace for 30 wins. He's 3-0 with an ERA under .5. He's had quality starts in each one of his starts. He went 8 innings the other night at 10 strikeouts. He's been fantastic. And again, kind of pleasantly surprised. Like, there's some guy with Mike Trout kind of being productive here in the first week and a half of the season. Logan O'Hoppy's hitting, Zach Neto's hitting a little bit. I mean, the Angels, they're a pesky out right now. And so you got Kurt Suzuki, what he's managing like on a day-to-day contract, I think, with the Angels. And so basically, we don't know if he'll be fired tomorrow, but
I think they gave him a work visa that's good for 6 to 9 months, maybe.
absolutely. So it's like, he's been Soriano's been just a kind of a real cool story as far as just a guy who's putting quality outings together in a very difficult time of the season. And then we already talked about Connor Griffin, but this is, I think, right now the Pirates are 7-5, and the reality for their team, obviously Paul Skeens is on the pitching side of things, but they'll go as far as like O'Neal Cruz is consistently hitting.
It's a good point.
And so far, O'Neal Cruz is consistently hitting. I mean, he's got 4 home runs. He's batting .295. He's got 12 RBIs, 13 hits overall. Like, he's putting the ball in play. He's getting on base. And that offense is a totally different animal when he hits consistently. And
Absolutely.
rather than saying Connor Griffin has to shoulder the whole load of the offense, it's much more reasonable for a Connor Griffin to say, like, hey, we need you to accent and kind of partner with a guy like an O'Neal Cruz. If that can happen, now, again, O'Neal Cruz has not shown that he can go 162 games and be productive. But if he can be productive like he's been in the first couple weeks,
Watch out.
Watch. So far, O'Neal Cruz has been, outside of his opening day blunders in the outfield, he's been really, really productive. And I think that's a good thing for Pirates land, because
he finally got himself a pair of sunglasses, honestly.
Finally. And yeah, hopefully we'll see. And again, the guy, anytime you read a box score and you see O'Neal Cruz hit a home run, do yourself a favor, get on the MLB app and go watch the replay, because the guy doesn't ever hit a cheapie.
No.
Like, they're always tank jobs, and they're always 110 miles an hour off the bat, and they're really, really cool. So anyway.
Sidebar, we need to have a home run derby that's got Giancarlo Stanton and O'Neal Cruz in it. Like, I'd be sick to watch those guys go at it. Anyway.
Seriously.
Speaking of going at it, you were able to go to the Tigers Stadium this last week. You had a little bit of a interesting experience there. Would you care to share?
Yeah, so the Tigers last year developed what they call the Tigers Priority Club. And so if you watch the Tigers games, you'll see like the first 8 rows behind home plate are kind of these like fancy schmancy seats or whatever. And I don't know.
Lazy boy recliners and all that kind of stuff.
Kind of think I think Yankee Stadium's done something similar, and teams are increasingly kind of doing stuff like this in different parts of the ballpark. But the Priority Club is it's a club that you can be a part of, which basically gives you like under the field access, while at the same time giving you like a close to the field experience. It begins with you sit in a padded chair. It's very it's comfortable compared to like the regular ballpark chair. However, the chair itself is, depending on the weather, automatically set for to be heated if it's cold. And it was cold on Sunday night. So it was Friday. It was Sunday night, Easter Sunday. It was probably 38 degrees, 40 degrees. But the seat had three levels of warmness to it, and which was fantastic. Almost got too warm down under, if you know what I mean. But then also in the summertime, when it's hot out, they're self-cooling chairs, and so they're
what?
Yeah, they're cooling
chairs
and warming chairs in the winter. But the coolest part of it was it was all you can eat food access just kind of within walking distance of the chair. So you walk down to the clubhouse area, which would be kind of like next door to where both, like you have the Cardinals clubhouse, or the Tigers clubhouse, and in between you have what they call the Priority Club. And the Priority Club is what we'll call a magical land of just the sweetest things that the world has to offer. And if I could just for a second, we're just going to walk around the room here. So you come into the Priority Club, and immediately, you look to your right, and you've got a guy there, and he's making, like, a team of guys are making sliders, and so they're making burgers with cheese and a pickle and special sauce, and they're just there. Hey, take one. Okay, so that's great. I then walk across the way, and you have one of these like kind of like a model train situation where you have on the train shrimp rolls and sushi rolls. And it's just like, yeah, take one. The guy's constantly for 9 innings preparing, longer than 9 innings, preparing sushi. Then you go to the next station, and there you had thinly sliced bites of New York strip steak with mashed potatoes and asparagus and little. Take one, it's all good. Then you go to the next station, and it's Easter Sunday, so they had an Easter dish. It was a slice of ham with a cranberry sauce, with another piece of ham, and a piece of pineapple on top. And then, of
A
course,
whole new definition of a ham sandwich.
absolutely. And then they had lamb there as well, which you could, like, it's kind of this braised lamb or whatever, and it was that was fantastic. And then it's the Tigers, and the Illiches own the Tigers, and the Illiches are the owners of Little Caesars Pizza. You have what my brother termed the third best quality Little Caesars that he's ever had.
Wow.
Just kind of, on display there. Then you make the turn and into the main hallway there, and you've got cotton candy, Cracker Jacks, and candy dispensers for just, you get a little cup and you fill it up and you can take it up to your seat. And then we have in the other side room, you had the magical land of the geisha of hot dogs. And so you had a woman working the stand, and it was like, how do you want your hot dog? And it was like, you had a ballpark Frank, you had an all beef hot dog, you had like a bratwurst sausage situation, and it was like, do you want chili on your dog? Do you want onions and peppers on your sausage? Do you want how would you take it? And you're like, oh well, this is really nice. Of course, they have an open bar. They had an ice cream stand where you could get ice cream, and again, this thing's open. It opens an hour and 20 minutes before the game, and it's open 2 hours after the game.
What?
And they've got games displayed up on the screen. They also have a shop down there where you can get, hats and shirts that aren't available in the MLB shop on the main concourse level. So it's stuff that's just available in the Priority Club.
Wow.
And overall, like, I can definitively say it's the way God intended baseball to be watched. And
did you mention the Buffalo Sliders?
And by the way, so like the first inning, that's the first inning situation. But then you go back down in the fourth inning. Oh, and they've swapped out food items. So it's like, instead of doing New York strip steak, now they're doing buffalo chicken tender sliders, where it was buffalo chicken tenders on a bun, on a roll with coleslaw. And so they begin swapping stuff out, and you're like, oh, like, this is great. They had a pasta station where they brought out meatballs and spaghetti and different things and it was just fantastic.
Million delights.
Oftentimes you'll see in a Tigers game, even in a well-attended game, you'll see the seats right behind home plate, kind of pretty empty. Well, that's because most likely they're down below just enjoying the heck out of themselves, because they got the Tigers game up on the big screen, like massive screen. If there's other baseball games going on, they'll be on smaller screens. And literally, it's like, man, if I'm just going to go, you could get, if you could get some prime seating, you could just sit there and just enjoy company, enjoy the game, enjoy good food. And the food on like a scale of like, I had forgotten what it was to have a hot dog at a baseball game that wasn't in a soggy roll, all matted down, like somehow like they kind of tried to wring it out before they wrapped it and handed it to you.
Like a Joey Chestnut special.
Yeah, it's just so good. So good. Anyway, I was overall, I mean, it's an expensive experience. My brother was able to commandeer some tickets, very cheap for us by comparison, but like, it's not unheard of, especially on a weekend game. It's not unheard of for these for these tickets to be going for over $1,000 a piece, which is crazy. We tried to do crunch some numbers, and I'm pretty sure under normal circumstances, my brother consumed probably $300 worth of food all by himself at the game. And I wasn't probably far behind, because you think of the quality of what you're getting, and then just the volume, and you're like,
Yeah.
whoa, ballpark food is expensive, very expensive. You're like, yeah, you could clearly consume that in a hurry. But overall, very cool. Coolest part of it was they had a bathroom with a bathroom attendant who was responsible. It was like going to Buc-ee's. It was the Buc-ee's of Major League Baseball.
The Buc-ee's experience at
I was
Major
like,
League
"Sir,
Baseball.
what is your job?" He's like, "Well, it's my job to keep the bathroom clean." I'm like, "A clean bathroom at a Major League Baseball stadium? Like, that's insane."
What is this?
That's
I know, right?
insane. And so, yeah, anyway, I was overall just very impressed with it. Like I said, it opened up last year, and the thing's fully operational now, and it was a
Choice.
game-changing experience, we'll say that. So
Nice. And I think that speaks to like the bigger context of like Major League Baseball making a shift from everybody having the same thing to prioritizing different levels of experience at the ball game. You got the standing room only thing and people just, enjoying the everyman crowd. You've got the club level where there's like paraphernalia and memorabilia on display that you can peruse, but the food is not included. Or you have like those seats immediately behind home plate, which for a lot of stadiums, they're turning into this like priority club access where food's included, padded seats, heated and cooled seats. That's a pretty amazing thing.
yeah, it's kind of like
Just an
it's a
elevated experience,
Yeah, it's kind of like Hunger Games, like think of the Capitol, like a VIP zoo situation where you can still, like, you're in this sophisticated, like, lower bowl central sort of operation thing, but you can still see like the animals in the zoo in the regular area.
Yep.
So I'm like, I can still see the buffoons and stuff. And I'm like, oh, and that makes it really good because like I'm down here and I'm enjoying my slider roll and I'm enjoying my chili dog, but it's like I can still see how the little people live out here. And it's really it brings it all together. It brings it
Did
all
you raise
together.
it up at some point and be like, hey, you want some of this? Sorry, you can't because you're not down here.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you just kind of
Nice.
show them we've been to conferences before in our line of work where they have the VIP section and you're like, you can't cross the third wall and stuff into that VIP section and you like, is
Yeah.
the air cleaner over here? And I can say
You got Gandalf standing there,
having been inside that area now, I can definitively see the air is cleaner there. And so
At least the
it's,
bathrooms are cleaner there.
and they're like, can we join you? And you're like, no, because you don't have the bracelet. And so you have to stay over there. And but don't worry, I'll tell you, it is good here, and it is a good land that I've found.
Grass is greener on the other side. All right, so time prohibits us from talking about all the petty fighting between Wilson
gosh.
Contreras and the Milwaukee Brewers and Jorge Soler and Ronaldo Lopez, but all sorts of soap opera type shenanigans taking place. I think that's a subject worth picking up next week. We'll come back, circle around to that. Let's look ahead to this weekend. Got some interesting matchups. Sunday night game you pointed out before we went live is Cleveland Atlanta.
I did find it, the 1995 World Series rematch.
There we go.
Now we're talking.
And they're in Atlanta, and both teams off to a decent start. And so you should have some good baseball. Lots of blue and red and white going around with the Guardians and Braves this weekend. And two former Native American franchises, one having been rebranded and the other still going to town with the chop. So
yeah, the sellouts versus the whatever.
Yeah. The North versus the South, even potentially. So we also have Pittsburgh versus the Cubs as a matchup that I got in mind.
Very intriguing matchup this weekend. Yeah, these are the games. If the Pirates want the standings to stay where they're at, they got to win games like this against the Cubs. So
yeah,
especially in
bold
prediction.
Connor Griffin hits his first home run at Wrigley Field.
That'd be fantastic.
Bold prediction. And then the third one is not so much because of who is playing the team-wise, but a storyline in that. So Rangers go to Dodgers this weekend.
Like that
My
matchup
eyes are
is
not
fun.
on that because the Dodgers are playing. My eyes are on that because Jacob deGrom is scheduled to pitch this weekend. The Dodgers have found themselves against Nationals and Blue Jays pitching. And this weekend, will we continue that success the Dodgers have found? Or is deGrom going to reach inside and find the shell of his former self and put on a clinic, making the Dodgers look like fools? We've got a blueprint for it. The Guardians did it to open up the season. Can deGrom execute that? To me, I think that's a storyline to keep an eye out for. I think he's slated to pitch Saturday or Sunday. So
Yeah.
that'll be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, two more ones that I'm just looking at. The Mets have started off really well for their standards, and the A's come to town this weekend. And if the Mets are gonna, and the A's have stumbled out of the gate. They have not, kind of maybe lived up to the expectations maybe coming into the season, but the season's young. They've stumbled out of the gate. Do the Mets allow the A's to get back on their feet, or do they wait till next series because we're gonna keep stockpiling some wins here early in the year? It would be a very Mets thing to do to get swept by the A's this weekend, and at home especially. So I'll be watching that one, and then the other one, divisional matchup, Astros Mariners. That's kind of butted into a
Feisty
interdivisional
rivalry.
Exactly. It'll be in Seattle. Both the Astros started hot. They've kind of come back to earth a little bit. The Mariners, again, as we pointed out, have been underwhelming to start, but this is a series where these divisional matchups, because there's not as many of them as there have been in the past, it will
Mean something.
Exactly, because tiebreakers and everything else come into play. So
Yep. Well,
anyway,
there we go. There's some games to look forward to this weekend. This weekend being April 10th, 11th, and 12th. And we'll be back next week with another iteration of Two in the Booth. And until next time,
we're out of here.
Bing pot.
Hot.
All right. Time to go meet up with Ray Ray.
You're going down to Simeon Trust?
No, I have a thing I got to do for my seminary assignment, and I'm meeting with him on it because he knows Hebrew a little bit better than Kendall.
Really? What are you going to talk about with him?
I just need to go. I have to do. Did you have to do local mentor meetings when you were at Midwestern?
Yeah, at the time, I think I just used my